but an important step that will lead, I believe, to positive change in our correction system. While many of the 77 recommendations have been acted upon already, some will take longer. They will require more detailed analysis. They will require discussions with other departments. There's the budget process that we have to go through. There are also certain recommendations which will involve the collective bargaining process, and we'll be meeting with the correction officers and with NAPE concerning them. Some recommendations, as they are either of a systemic nature or significant work with another party, such as NAPE, may take longer. The Department of Justice has a dedicated team of employees working upon the analysis and the implementation of this review. And graciously, Dr. Terry Carlson has agreed to remain with the department to lead that implementation team. Dr. Carlson, along with possessing a PhD in criminology, has had extensive history with corrections. He served as executive director of the John Howard Society of our province and has been a long-time advocate for an improved and humane correction system. As well, both Mrs. Poirier and Mr. Brown have offered their continued support and advice as we move through this process. And I know that their guidance has been immeasurable and will continue to be so. The road has been long, but the report of the consultant states that we're moving towards the light after decades of darkness. No challenge of this magnitude is worth taking simply to be done for the sake of political expediency. We have to make sure we do it right, we do it correctly. Cooperation has been a vital part of our success thus far, and I'm confident that it will continue. And I want to thank again Ms. Poirier, Mr. Brown, and Mr. Carlson for their tremendous work on this matter and their continuing involvement. I also want to thank our corrections executive, our correction officers, inmates past and present, as well as their families, for their important input into this very important work. Thank you very much, and I'll take any questions you may have.
Minister, but how many of these 77 recommendations would you say have been implemented so far?
I was advised today that 47 of them have been acted on. 47.
Within days of getting this report, the minister, your predecessor, made some staff changes at the top. What do you hear originated or caused those changes at the top of the press?
You know, it's inappropriate for me to talk about personal employment matters, and I've never done that, and I don't tend to do so. But I will say generally that I believe that after you read the report, there's certainly a call for change in management style, and that under Assistant Superintendent Rogerson and Assistant Acting Superintendent of HMP Don Roach, they've now instituted changes, many of the changes, that I think will augur well for the future of corrections in the province.
When the changes were made, I interviewed the predecessor, and he said it would be clear by reading the report, but are there sections from that that come to the report?
Well, in releasing the report, and I think Minister Kennedy did say when he first announced the report will be released subject to privacy and subject to security. As you know, we're governed by the Access to Information Protection and Privacy Act, ATIP, and that act in Part 4 deals with privacy. And there are certain things, it regulates how we collect and use and disclose personal information, and we have to follow that. And so certain things have been redacted from the report. Some privacy things haven't, because if you can contact the people and they agree, they consent to its being released, we can release it. Some people couldn't be contacted, some could. The other thing, of course, is security concerns. Obviously, if there are problems with the system, you can't publicize those and let people know what some of the problems are.
What are going to be, if any, financial barriers to implementing these proposals? Some of this will cost money.
Some of them will cost money, the resourcing issues, and they'll be part of the budget process. We will have to go through that process. Don't have a complete process. The report cost is $279,000. The recommendations are not. We're still not. I can't give you a number right now. We're still working on that. The Lemaire report gave us an opportunity to really make some major changes in policing and in Crown prosecutors and in legal aid. And I believe that this report is our first step in making real meaningful change with the correction system in this problem.
This review was launched after the death of 2 inmates that were disabled. What would you recommend we should do to prevent something like that happening again?
The review was launched. I think there were a number of things that called out for the review, not just that, which were 2 items that, obviously that concern us very much. But also there was the recommendation of the citizens representative dealing with detention facilities in Labrador and at the Window Center in Clarenville. There was the Auditor General's report was concerned about planning and about human resource matters, about inventories and capital assets. So there were the occupational health and safety concerns as well. There were things that the correction officers, etc. So there were many, many concerns that were the impetus for doing this report. And the report, I believe, has now given us a program and a blueprint that we can follow to address all of it.
But you mentioned those 2 deaths earlier. So, I mean, obviously with
Yeah.
a factor in this, what would the recommendation be to address the situation of those?
Well, with respect to one of the instances you're referring to, basically I have met with the family, and I've met with I've met with the police. I've met with the Director of Public Prosecution. I've met with the former prosecutor of the Mental Health Court. I've met with the Chief Judge of the Provincial Court. I've met with a lawyer who was legal aid counsel, defense counsel at the Mental Health Court. I've talked to the head of legal aid. I've talked to the chief medical officer and reviewed his report with him. And we're considering options. And when I make a decision, that'll be announced.
The report recommends another review of the change from the paramilitary model to a living unit model. When will that happen, and how big of a change would that be?
It's going from a military model to a dynamic security, and they reference what happens in Stephenville, where there's more interaction between the correctional officers and inmates, and that leads to better relations. I'm not an expert in that, Paul. Do you want to comment on that? Dynamic versus static security.
It's a model that is being used in other jurisdictions, and it results in more interaction between correctional officers and inmates. And naturally, the safety of correctional officers is paramount at all times. In Stephenville, given the actual physical layout of the building, that model is actually one that is in practice now. And it allows, as I say, for greater interaction between correctional officers and inmates. It allows correctional officers to assess the needs and problems of inmates on an ongoing basis, which in turn actually helps to promote safety and security in the institution as well, and allows for more remedial contact, rehabilitative contact between correctional officers and inmates.
Is that kind of thing possible at HMP now, or will you need a new federal decision to do that?
I think the decision hasn't been made yet. I think there's a lot of analysis that has to go into that. There's some consultation with the correction officers, consultation with the Navy, and that decision will be announced at some point in the future.